Good morning, students. Myself Archana Upadhyay, and it is 7th chapter of Snapshots, and the name of the chapter is Birth. And in my last video, I told you that Joe Morgan and his wife are expecting their first child after 20 years of their marriage, and they are very possessive also, but she is going to deliver a baby premature. So Joe Morgan went to call Dr. Andrew Morgan, and he came, and then the nurse told the doctor that she did not want to take chloroform because it may harm the baby. Okay, so her mother, Joe Morgan's mother, told the doctor that Susan said not to give her the chloroform if it would harm the baby. And she told this also, that she is too much possessive about this child. Her old eyes warmed at a sudden thought. Means that lady, suddenly she was filled with emotion when she told about that. And she added in a low tone, "Hey, we all are a fancy." And then she told this also, that all of the family members are too much attached with that baby. He collected himself with an effort. As you know, the doctor was too much lost in his thoughts, so somehow he could control himself. "It won't do any harm, the anesthetic," he said kindly. "They'll be all right." And he told with politeness, with kindness, that nothing will harm and there is no problem about anesthesia. Everything will be all right. Now the nurse's voice was heard calling from the top landing, and you glanced at the clock. And suddenly, Mrs. Joe Morgan's mother and doctor were talking in the kitchen. And suddenly, the nurse called them loudly from the top floor. And Andrew watched the clock, which now showed 3:30. Means it was the time of about 4, 3:30. He got up and went to the bedroom. He perceived that, there he found that he might start his work. Means it was the time for the baby to come in this world. An hour passed. There was a long, harsh struggle, and as the first shriek of dawn stayed past the broken edge of the blind, the child was born. When it was early morning and very dim light was coming from the window, and that time the child was born, but it was lifeless. As we know that the whole family, they were too much worried about that child. They were too much possessive about that child. They wanted this child sound and safe, but it didn't happen. When the child was born, he was lifeless. As he gazed at the still form, of a shiver of horror passed over Andrew. When he saw the baby in that condition, Andrew was in tension. He was shivering in horror. After all, he had promised the family that everything will be okay. His face heated with his own exertion. He was feeling so exerted that his face was heated due to his own emotions. And suddenly he was chilled. He hesitated, torn between his desire to attempt to resuscitate the child. He was hesitating how he can rescue, how he can bring the baby in life as he has promised to all, and his obligation toward the mother. He wanted to show his obligation to mother also, who was herself in the desperate state. She was also in very bad condition. Now the doctor was in dilemma. It was so urgent he did not solve it consciously. Means everything was so urgent, both the mother and the baby were having their own problems, and it was difficult for him what to do first. Blindly, immediately, he gave the child to the nurse and turned his attention to Susan Morgan, who now lay collapsed, almost pulseless, and not yet out of either upon her side. He immediately took him only an instant and gave her an injection, injected the medicine in her body. Then he flung down the hypodermic syringe and worked unsparingly to restore the flaccid woman. Okay, means he gave her medicine and injection to restore her condition. After a few minutes of feverish effort, that lady came to round. Her heart strengthened. Then he saw that he might safely leave her. Okay, when he was confirmed that he can leave this lady, then immediately he swung round his sleeves, his hair sticking on his damp brow. In my next video, I'll tell you the other part.